Welcome back to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast. And in case you're just joining us, you're listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast with Emmy, Hikins, and Trevor.
Three dogs survived, which is a bit of a strange one. Wow. But the owner, the designer, went down with the ship, as did the captain. So that was the cause. The speed they were going when they hit the iceberg, well, Titan was going at 25 knots. When it strikes the iceberg, Titanic 22 and a half knots. And lastly, the size, both very similar, 800 feet long, with a similar displacement of water, which is how they calculate the tonnage. Both were around 46,000 tons, over 50 when they were fully laden. So with that sort of information, do you think that book was a premonition with such similarities? Not just one or two similarities, like the name, it's very similar, or other aspects of it, but the real detail of that book. Would you say that was a premonition?
If it was real.
Well, yeah, but the book was written. Are you suggesting it wasn't written? This is a true story.
No. I thought it was.
So he wrote the book. He wrote the book, and basically told the story of the sinking of a great ship, largest British ocean-going liner at the time, and all the details. Is almost perfect in matching. Clearly, there would be some things that weren't matching, but the vast majority were. So, would you say that is a premonition or just coincidence? Because that's the next thing on our list. Coincidence, isn't it?
I would say that's a coincidence. You can't be that. Yeah, you can't. It's too strikingly accurate that I just think. Wow. I would say it's a coincidence because he wrote the book. He didn't know about the Titanic. He didn't know. How long apart? What's the time?
1898. He wrote the book. 1912. So 14 years. That's quite a long time.
It is.
It wasn't. So. It's incredible, isn't it, how he got all that stuff right. Now, you could say, some would argue that, well, coincidence is possible, of course, on anything. But to have coincidences pretty much of all the key features of the Titanic sinking, so much of it was matching. And, could there in some way, was it some sort of warning from nature or providence that, hang on a minute, put the story there, don't ever call a new ship unsinkable, make sure you've got enough lifeboats. And it could have been, if people had viewed that, if it was well known as a book at the time, they could have stopped the actual thing happening. Some people would say that it's more than coincidence, wouldn't they?
Yeah. Well, I'm 50-50. So I'm borderline on coincidence and premonitions.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. I mean, actually, I've got a rather unusual link to that. In the late 90s, I think probably 1999, 98 possibly, but around that time, I went, when I was married, we used to go to a few Titanic exhibitions down in Southampton. It's a very interesting subject. And in that one in about 1999, I actually met the survivor of the Titanic, and she was the youngest child. She was a baby when it sank, and she survived, obviously. Her name was Milvina Dean, and she died in, I think, 2009, and she was 87, 88, something like that. And people could go up to her and ask her things. And she was very sort of sprightly, I suppose is the word. Nearly 90 she was. Although not then, she would have been about 80 then, because this was in about 1999. And she was a little bit snappy with people. So I asked her this question. I said, obviously, well, it was more of a statement. I said, obviously, Milvina, you couldn't have any recollection of any of it. I was just really stating the obvious, but to say something. And she turned around and snapped at me, really. She said, "Young man," she said, which I was pleased her calling me a young man. And she said, "Young man, it wasn't an incident," because I said, "Do you remember the incident?" She said, "It wasn't an incident, it was a terrible accident." And I felt duly reprimanded for saying that. But yeah, I've always felt it was quite something to have spoken to somebody who was in that awful accident. Interestingly, if you go to the author of that book, The Titan, The Wreck of the Titan, it was called Futility, but when Titanic sank, he changed the name of the book to The Wreck of the Titan, I suppose to show the similarities. But he'd been a merchant seaman for years, and when asked about this, was it a premonition you had? He said, "No, I don't think so." He said, "It's like you said." He said, "I think it was coincidence." He said, "I've seen so many situations."
We're going to take a short break now. We're back shortly. You've been listening to the Alien Spaceship Talk Show with Trevor and Emmy Hikins. The Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast is looking for sponsors. If you're a company out there looking to spread the word about the products and services you provide, please get in touch with Deepstuff Radio Podcast on info@deepstuffrecords.com, or to use the contact form on our website to contact us, please visit radio.deepstuffrecords.com. Also, if you're looking to get involved on the Alien Spaceship Talk Show podcast, reach out via our Deepstuff Radio Facebook page. Thank you.